Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, besides shortwave radios, there are things called transceivers, and they're basically transceivers. More than meets the eye, because originally they were just like walkie-talkies. Um, and I had a set uh, a while back. I sold them when I was selling everything else, but they were like Midland or Cobra, like GMRS or something, family radio. You don't need a license or anything, and they could reach up to like 15 miles theoretically. They said, but they were low power walkie-talkies, and all they did was they just operated on those channels. They didn't have you couldn't remove the antennas, none of that other stuff. Well, Baofeng came along and had these little ham radios that a lot of ham operators don't like and stuff because of something called spurious emissions or um, sidebands. You know, when you transmit on a frequency, you have a center frequency which should be, we'll go with antenna height. It should be the main one, and then you always have some side lobes, sideband frequencies. They try to attenuate them. I just dropped a radio. Just dropped it. They try to attenuate it and everything so that it. Alright, let me fix this. Really good radios will be clean. Basically, they and what's the problem with spurious, sideband emissions? Well, if you're on the center frequency, that's really all you should be transmitting on. And if you've got sidebands that pick up real high, well, they're going to transmit on those frequencies too. So it's going to get a lot of bleed over. You're going to hear it on a lot of different frequencies. I don't know how bad it is. I'm not operating these. The ones I was using before, like I said, was for four-wheeling. One of my buddies would have one. He had a pair in his Jeep. I got a pair just because, if you ever need to tow your Jeep or something, it's good to communicate with the person running the line out if you're having any help, or another vehicle if you need to get unstuck. But anyways, I sold those, and then later on, I was kind of late in getting into Baofeng, but this is the first one I got. It's just a UV5R. Let's see, it's kind of wobbling. It works pretty well. The only thing is, it monitors police frequencies, but it's not as good as a scanner, you know. And they started adding things like a radio to them, AM radio, an FM radio. And so later on, I got another Baofeng. This is the R3. I think it's supposed to be able to receive three different frequencies. Let me see. I set it up on this for something I was going to do right now, which I'll show you what it did later on when we get into it. But so I was that way with it a long time, but they didn't have airband capability. I don't know. Maybe this one did. Sorry, but I think I originally just had this one because I could use it to monitor police and fire and stuff like that. And then I got this one, I believe, if it's the R3 does 3 bands, which I think it does. I got that to monitor aircraft also. Well, then I got this TID radio because it also does aircraft. And these were a while back. It's not like I just, recently got a lot of these. This one was the most recent one until I started looking at because I was watching shortwave radios and everything. Now they're starting to incorporate shortwave receivers, shortwave receivers capabilities in radios. And this one's the 880G. It actually has a separate radio antenna for receiving that stuff. I just threw this one on there, but I got another one I'm going to have coming in. But it has this thing, they're starting to get to where they're doing everything. It has instead of, you know, like the you can get firmware updates for these things that changes things. See, like this one's only got one frequency it shows, and this one shows 3, and you can monitor all 3. So what I did was, without even knowing a whole lot about repeaters or anything else like that, I set this thing up to demonstrate something that it can do. Like this bow thing won't receive aircraft. Won't receive aircraft frequency. So let's go to frequency mode. And we'll type in a frequency of 135.750. Cancel, because it can't receive that. Now, if you have a repeater is basically the way a cell phone works. You have a low power transmitter, your cell phone, that kicks a signal out to a cell tower. That cell tower amplifies that signal and sends it to another one or whatever. You know, it basically, cell towers are different because they have handoffs where they, if they're starting to get out of range, they'll do a handoff. All right, so what's the advantage of a crossband repeater? Most repeaters can only send signals on their frequency range. You know, like if it's 400 megahertz, then that's all it's going to send. If you got something that doesn't receive aircraft and you want to hear it on that radio, you're out of luck. Unless you've got a repeater that's set up to monitor this, transmitting on a certain frequency. I've got it set for low power, just for this test, for like 405, right? And then for this thing, all you've got to do is set up the repeater thing. So it's in the menu.
Basic settings.
Is it basic settings? Or is it analog settings? Madman, and I put a Chinese character in there. It's my call sign. Just a second, let me find it. I'll turn that light on. Alright, so the way you do it is, this is going to be your, it only operates off of A and B channels when you're setting up the repeater. You won't be able to get C. So what we're going to do, we set this one already to monitor the air traffic tower because it happens a lot. And then this is what we're going to transmit on. And to get it to work, we just go basic settings, we say OK, and then we go up, 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 up. UV repeater. That's UHF, VHF repeater. You say OK. We turned it on. And now it's on. See that? See that? Now you have a radio. This one can receive all different frequencies, but I mean, for example, you know, like this one can't. Here, sit there. Be quiet, you. I want to get this one into frequency mode.
Channel mode.
No, we want frequency
mode.
Turn down, you freak. 4 0
0 4.
Uh-oh, I didn't want 404, you idiot. I don't remember how to cancel. Exit. Yeah, there we go. 405. Sorry. 0 1 0. Now, this one is dual band. See? We'll turn this other guy off. See, it's receiving it. Once it starts transmitting, it doesn't have to be this close. Alright? So how would you set this up? Well, let's say, for example, you've got a base camp, and you've got multiple bow things that won't receive on a particular frequency that you want to monitor, and you have, you know, one of these. You set up that frequency right there, and then whenever this receives that, see, it's getting aircraft now. It could be whatever you wanted to set it up, whatever channel you wanted to set it up on. Now, if you're really doing this, I'm going to turn it off right now. If you're really doing this for real and everything, you should be, a licensed TAM operator and operating on certain frequencies and all that other stuff. But I'm just showing you this because in case of an emergency, let's say that on an outer perimeter, this is really far away, however far that this thing can reach and receive this, you have a bunch of them on outer perimeters, and then say someone is looking for you and you're trying to contact them, they might be able to reach your range is extended. Basically your ears are extended and what you can do is extended. And was it complicated to set up? No. I mean, I know you've got these different codes and everything. I've never set up a repeater before. It's the first time I ever did anything like that. And I know for a regular one you've got these CTTS and different kind of codes, and you can really get into the weeds on it and everything. But I mean, once you set them up, it's just basically, I think, encrypting it so that not anybody, not just anybody, unless you had the right encryption code in there for that, you wouldn't be able to receive that frequency. You wouldn't be able to understand it. In theory, I think that's what it is. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that I learned that out of that. And so now, I got this one over here because of the Amazon sale and everything. And it's the 900. And the only reason why I got it was because I was watching a video where they had a different kind of scanner. See, like this one has a scanner on it, and I'm really finding interesting. Let me turn off my repeater.
Channel mode. 2. Basic settings.
Yeah, okay, we've got this logged in and we're headed correct now to Abilene for that. But why are we going way over to the left and then back?
You could set up a shortcut key to do all this. I probably will. I can set it. You can just put up a shortcut key. See that red thing is off now. It won't transmit now when it receives this. I recently got this one. Well, let me show you what I was talking about here. I've set it up so that if I long press this, I'll come up with the scanner. Alright? And I like this so much because it allows me to pick up different frequencies. You could set it up to do monitor or scanning just by holding down this little hash key here. It's in scanning mode. I think it doesn't talk to you when it finds a frequency. It just lands on it. And then monitor mode, it'll pick up the audio of anything that it's doing. And then you can move this cursor around. That's it. It's not transmitting. That's just where you're at. This is your center frequency. You can set the spacing, the bandwidth up. This is the squelch level. You want to set it just so that it's not triggering all the time. You just want to get down there. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to hear anything.
I appreciate it.
See, they just came up with that one. If I didn't know that was, and I just happened to be on that frequency, I mean, let's not gonna see now. It's picking up. That's another one. It won't always. What I do is I tune another one of these radios into that frequency and I listen to it and see if it's anything I want. And then this thing can still scan. Well, the issue with this guy right here is you've got to flash the firmware. You've got to flash it. And this is not the Bluetooth version. If I had the Bluetooth version, I could do it from my phone. But it was on sale. It was like $20-something, man. I thought, wow, I can have another one that has a little scanner on it, and it's lighter, it's easier, it's cheaper. This one was almost $100. Well, it was about $100 for this one. 25. So if anything happens to it, it's easier to carry. So I don't have a laptop, and maybe eventually I'll get one and stuff. But maybe you can, it is USB-C flashable through the through here, I believe. I'm not sure, but anyway, eventually maybe I'll upgrade it. But in the meantime, uh, you don't have to spend a lot of money for a bunch of gadgets. Like I said, this one's got GPS in it. I mean, it's just got all kinds of stuff in it. It's really, it's like a gadget in a box. See here, you can set the different zones. Get out of that. What I got 6 set up. No, that's see, I just switched to single sideband. You can receive FM, AM, or single sideband. I didn't know I had it on that particular key. Beacon list. That's AA. There's GPS right there. Pow. We hit it. You can get it from the menu, or you can do shortcut keys. But
Extended functionality.
Extended functionality. GPS on. See, even though they got that, you gotta go to your. Was it this guy? No.
Basic settings.
This guy. Sorry, I'm just learning. But there's your NOAA. And then you've got a regular radio, which you can do shortwave again. Now it's going to do upper sideband or lower sideband. See, lower sideband. Just short press. Upper sideband. Carrier wave, a continuous wave, like for the diddy bop. You continue to hold down and it jumps. Medium wave. Long wave. FM. So you see, it has all the functions of a shortwave radio in it, plus the ability to transmit. This one can also do CB. It can transmit on CB, but it's only in FM, and it's low power. But I mean, FM low power carries further. It's only like 1, maybe 2 watts. And you'd have to have a CB that has the FM in it. Most of the ones used to be just AM. FM CB is something recent. But anyways, I was getting into all this, and this one I had for just one day, and I was really getting into it, trying to understand, because it is complicated at first, trying to get in to understand all the different menus and watching stuff, and I went to turn it on, and the screen remained black. This never came on. That sound never came on. That never came on. None of this came on. This light right here remained green constantly, like it was receiving a transmission. But no matter what button I pushed, I couldn't get it to come on. The LED lights wouldn't come on. None of the NOAA weather radio, the emergency thing, nothing was working on it. And I went, great. I've spent all this money on this thing, and the more complicated it is, the more likely it is to mess up. Well, let's see if there's a reset button in here. And I started looking around, and I saw that this, see how it kind of indents a little bit? I said, there's something underneath there. It's perforated. Well, it's probably an altitude sensor for GPS or something like that. It has nothing to do with resetting the radio. Well, one of the guys I was watching videos on and explaining all this stuff, I'll put his link to, I'll show you what channel he's on and everything. But he's a ham radio operator. He buys a lot of this stuff, and he reviews radios, and he learns about them, new things. And one of the things that he had learned was if you turn on the power and hold this one down, this arrow key down, and turn it on, it'll go into full band mode, where you don't have to set the different frequency ranges each time. The radio operates full band. The disadvantage is you lose your three screen monitoring thing. I think that's pretty good, because a lot of times when I'm just trying to listen to aircraft, there's really only like 2 or 3 that I want to hear, and I don't care about the rest of them. So it doesn't have to do a lot of scanning and jump around. It just sits there, and then when it comes on, and it works well. Well, that didn't work. That type of thing. So I thought, oh well, if it can work that way with one button, let me try. I'm going to try all buttons. So I tried this one. This is the back key or the OK key or whatever. I tried that. Nope. I tried the up key. Nope. When I held it down and turned this one on, apparently that's the reset. Because I was trying also, the Baofeng ones where you hold down the transmit, and then there was a star key or something, and you turn power on. Some of them you got to be really. They don't want you to accidentally, reset your radio. But that worked. Although when it came on, the screen was very dark. I'd never seen it that dark before. But the menu was there. So, when it came on, it came up after the reset and everything. Didn't do that. It didn't have all that. It just came up with a regular screen. And I got into this again. A DMTF input. Or DTMF. Whatever it is. I don't want it, whatever it is. But a short press brings you up to the basic settings. And I went into there, and I went through and found LCD brightness and turned it on. And it was working. But everything was in Chinese. All my memories were gone. And so I went down, not everything because I could read the menu. I went down to initialization, and I did that, and I reset it, and it worked. I was to the point where I was thinking, oh man, I don't want to have to return a radio. Well, the very same time that I got that fixed, then this that I've never had any problems with ever whatsoever before, the TID radio, when it came on, it would not give me the screen. It said kill stun. So one of the features that they added to these was, if you set up a password and you set this thing up, you can have another walkie-talkie have this one non-functioning. Isn't that a great idea? Well, in theory, if somebody steals your stuff and you don't want them to use it, yeah. But if it just activates on its own like it did, and you haven't set up any password, you've got a brick in your hands. It wouldn't do anything. Come on, I could still use the flashlight, but nothing would work. It would just, every time I try to do something, it says transmission stopped or whatever, stun kill enabled. And I go, what in the heck? So I looked on YouTube again, and I looked through, and TID Radio, they basically, one person had the same thing, and they told them to contact customer support. Well, I tried the Baofeng reboot, which is, you turn this on, and you hold down the star key and the transmit key at the same time, and it'll pop up with a menu. The first one is GMRS, the second one is ham, and the third one is normal. Well, I tried number 1 at first, and it didn't do anything. It still kill and enabled. So I did it again with ham, still nothing. I did it again with normal. It brought the radio back. But of course, I think my frequencies were still in here. No, they were all gone. It had wiped out all the frequencies. So whatever had happened to that messed it up. But I got it recovered. So the more technological you get with these things, the deeper you get into the weeds, and just like with flashlights, a lot of times, scanners and all these other things have their own operating system, their own little way. For this one, you're going to push this button. These are the same manufacturers, but I mean, you switch between what you do with this. To scan on this one, you do this. You hold it down after a while. To scan on this one, you got to push this button. To scan on this one, you've got to assign a scan frequency button. So I mean, it has a lot of capabilities, but again, it's getting heavier, and that's what I said. The main thing I'm doing is listening to stuff, and I like finding new frequencies. Well, if you're doing a scan through a frequency band the normal way, as the radio's sweeping through, it's got to land on that transmission while it's transmitting for it to stop. Otherwise, you're just going to have to sweep and sweep and sweep that band. With a scan, with a spectrum like that, as soon as it pops up, you not only know what the frequency is, it tells you in red down there what it was, and you can hear it if it's monitoring. Man, that is awesome. That is amazing capability for finding stuff. You have to watch out because there are band limiter frequencies sometimes, like 156.000. You hit that, and it's just a constant tone. So if you're trying to find something, yeah, it's transmitting, but it isn't transmitting anything you want to know. And so it'll stop. You have to adjust your bandwidth. You have to adjust your threshold. It's really a geek type of thing, but I was into this stuff. I know all about radios. I mean, I used to, because in my career field, we looked at the entire electromagnetic spectrum, listening for signals, and if it was anything the enemy was using to get any intelligence on us, we had a transmitter that would jam it one way or another, usually sheer power. Like these things operate on 4, maybe 5 watts, maybe 10 watts. Transmitters will do hundreds of watts. And so if you're looking for a signal, you're going to get it. It's just going to be noise. It's going to be unusable. And that's why, I find this stuff interesting, but I'm not really into, I don't really want to be a ham radio operator that sits there and goes CQ, 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 I read you 5 by 5. People that are into that, that's fine, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to see how far I can talk across the world. I know it's possible with repeaters. Again, with repeaters, it enables you to reach the range of your power and further. Without a repeater, you're limited to 10 watts or 5 watts or whatever it's going to reach, as far as that's going to go. But if you can reach a repeater, it can send it to as far as another repeater, and it can go on and on and on across the world, I guess, if it needs to. Anyway, yeah, there you go. That's my little shorty on that. One other thing I got was with it. I got with this. It came with this one with the little capacitors on it and everything. That one for shortwave also. I thought this is a this is a gimmick. This is not going to work. Low and high switch, Actually, you look at signal strength meter and everything, it does work. I mean, I can tune it. It works. I mean, it's not as good as running just a wire out there, but, it's something. So, there you go. It's a long-winded one. I will get back into showing some of the shortwave radios that I got that I started reaching the point like, look, it's better if you want to keep it small and compact, then you're not going to have to be able to throw a lot of gadgets in. Although they're starting to miniaturize everything and GPS is getting smaller, the only reason why these are huge is because people are talking about battery life and everything, so they slap a big battery on it, and the screens are too small. So with size becomes, increased cost and complexity, but you also get increased capabilities if you need them. You don't always need them. But yeah, there you go. Just a little quickie there. One day I'll fix this to where it'll do a little spectrum thing, but I'm not worried about it right now. So There you go. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.